This is me, Peter Carew, from IBM. This is a nice audience to actually be speaking to, because the people I have been speaking with don't have a knowledge or a lot of business exposure to IBM, so it gives me an opportunity to express or impart some of the IBM sort of things that we are doing. Big title there, but what it represents is I have global involvement, not only on business intelligence, but more importantly on crime analytics within global agencies. So I got a lot of experience and exposure to what's actually happening around the globe. And it's, in some cases, it's pretty much the same issue of not knowing what they know, need to get hold of the information, how can we perform even better. Excuse me while I read some notes. We've only got 20 minutes to get through this, so there's a lot to cover in my presentation. But first of all, personally, I class myself more as a sort of technologist. I've been involved and I've gained insight into many of those various industries that John was mentioning just a moment ago, both here and in Australia. I won't go through those again. I'd like to introduce you to the Welcome to the Decade of Smart. And I'll just point to the web address down below there so you can all follow what's happening with IBM. For those not aware, IBM is involved in not only hardware, software, but IT services globally. It's in fact involved in every industry on this planet. It has over 500,000 employees. That in itself is quite a feat. But what IBM has found is the world isn't just getting smaller and flatter, it's actually getting smarter. Because IBM is involved in a variety of industries, is that it has launched an ongoing conversation about some of those most critical issues that we're facing, but also most of the promising opportunities facing our planet, our sort of global community. And as I said, there's more details on the website. But before I get into the presentation proper, I just want to set the stage. I want to take you on a bit of a different journey that you've probably experienced so far in the presentations. And it's going to be a very quick one, all in, as I said, 20 minutes. It's going to be one that's going to be touching on business performance and solutions in the crime and law space. We're going to look at some enlightenment of some of the technical capabilities available now, from completely unrelated industries to providing enablement to face the many and varied challenges that have been discussed in this International Serious and Organised Crime Conference. Here are just a few of the industries that IBM is working in to make our planet smarter. And you see through here, we've got smarter healthcare, banking, there's government. These are just a few. I didn't obviously put all of them onto the screen. But where crime and law enforcement and the space is involved in is in the public safety area that we've classed within IBM. And that also includes the emergency services for us and also border protection. So we're looking at all that within the public safety of the community of the world. We're finding that in public safety, as well as other industries, organisations, are getting smarter by becoming more instrumented, interconnected and intelligent. This year you'll see a lot, there's somewhat, as I'm reading from the slide here, 30 billion tags in use, and that keeps growing exponentially, similar to the data that Dave was just talking about a moment ago. With that, there is a trillion network things such as cars, roadways, pipelines, appliances, pharmaceuticals, livestock, everything you can imagine has networking sort of capabilities, and it's associated and how it affects the community as a whole, or in business too. And with that, looking at powerful systems to analyse that information. How can we ingest, infuse, consume and utilise that information to providing from that mountains of data to smarter decisions and actions. What does it all equal? In our case, where the roads, what emergency grid cities are becoming more smarter, looking at more in public safety. And that obviously covers in the law and law enforcement. Being more digitally aware and therefore becoming more smarter. On the instrumentation side, if you have a look at a lot of the information, a lot of those instruments are unknown everywhere. I mean, obviously within this facility here, if you go to the escalator, if it hasn't been used for a while, it's going very slow. As you walk through it, it kicks in. There's some of the instrumentation that you may not have actually been aware of or available in your daily lives. On the networking side, you're looking at in some cases, here it says livestock and pipelines, cars. It's to do with anything you purchase from your local Coles, Woolies, or your shopping centres. That the packaging actually has a tag, or a very small of a tag. So now we're looking at networking on how rubbish is collected. Where is it actually being purchased? Where is it being consumed? Where is it being left, dumped, and on beyond? Mr. Gary Lewis, yesterday, from the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, mentioned, or it was his hope, that he wants networks to kill these crime networks. Well, IBM is in fact heavily involved in a multitude of networks from multitude of networks and understandings. And it's not just the networks on hardware; it's actually networks on the social networks. How this information has been related in those. And I have further slides that will actually cover a bit more about that later on. And of course, it gives us an opportunity for these public safety agencies to act and think in new ways. That also provides the means, that ability, flexibility, that the Assistant Commissioner Kevin Sakato, of the AFP yesterday, to keep the eye on the ball. When the game changes, as it always does, it provides us with the means. But of course, there's always the objective, and that objective is looking at that information. Globally, police, intelligence, border security agencies all pursue the same objective. They want to be able to join the dots. The data is out there. In some cases, it's not straight away able to get access to that, or it's just the data's there. They want to be able to get that information through in a timely and meaningful fashion. But on a business side, what does that mean in system terms? Transforming that sort of data to information on into intelligence, and that has been the challenge in the past for the law enforcement agencies. The key here is looking at this data. That's the key in any of these systems, etc. Looking at what is the data that we want to get in from many and varied sources on the data ingestion or data infusion part. But looking at it on a business scale, we want to look at what is the business value? What is our business flexibility and responsiveness? And we're looking at this chart and looking at how do we measure that? How do we actually get to that actual intelligence? Well, as I just mentioned, the key is obviously the data, where it's coming from. We want to get that from different data sources, obviously internally, and from external sources globally. How do we fuse that? Looking at completeness, accuracy. We're looking at how we get into the search relevance, the right information there. And of course, in this little statement here, it says we want to integrate ever-evolving input from many different sources, ever-growing volumes of ever-increasing data sources and velocities. All right, and so IBM has been involved, as I mentioned before, with hardware, software and IT services. It's involved in all the way up through here, in different systems, different capabilities, software services, and it's providing a means for to get to this actual intelligence at the end. But it's not about just accepting data from global or local agencies, trying to fuse that, put that sort of accuracy on top of that, add some more information, get to intelligence to do that. It's about, on this scale here, looking at information. How can we actually attribute that to a task force? What actually task force has been associated to a specific relevance of information that's come up through here? What other associated human resources, scheduling, forecasting, performance indicators we want to add to that data that's coming from on the crime or the law enforcement side. So IBM, as I mentioned before, IBM is involved from sort of start to finish as we head up to the top end of the scale. If those in the business like the Gartner Quadrant, you want to be able to get in the top quarter. But it's all about, instead of just going through there and then we hit to the universe, it's about being able to say from at this point or even that point, feeding the information back to the custodians of the data. And I'll cover this more in some more slides, in the ability to inform them that this is the information we've analysed here in your organisations, feeding that intelligence back So they're actually better informed as well, and that then sort of self-involving all the information as it comes through. So you're getting some more quality data, and you know that the information that's been accepted as coming through at this point has a certain quality. So we're looking at volume of digital data, and there's the annual gross rate for enterprise data has really increased. So 50%, it's probably more than that now. We're looking at DNA, so images, sensors, you've got your number plate recognition systems coming through. The variety of information has really grown, and it will continue to grow. The new growth is not necessarily in structured data, it's in unstructured. And that includes like emails, SMS, images, video, Facebook and social media. It comes from quite a variety of sources. On the Facebook side, on a social media side, there are a lot of agencies globally that are using Facebook as a means to not only promote their activities to the community, to give them goodwill, see what's happening in the policing agency, but also to advertise that they have, this is a picture of a perpetrator who's in a train station, snatched old ladies' bags. In one case, this is like for Singapore police. You can actually then find out that the community says, yes, I've seen that person, I want to add that to the mix. And so it's actually helping that force on that type of information. But, of course, they're accepting that and using that information as a source, not necessarily saying it's 100% accurate, but they are using that to help identify crime or the patterns. Obviously, the velocity of decision-making and it's the different types of security climate that is always changing on us. Of course, we want to be able to stay on top of that information, understand past and current performance. And I've underlined here, we're actually looking at how do we want to predict the future so we can actually better utilise our resources. I'm going to introduce a capability called Stream Analytics. It's called Data in Motion. Not so long ago, IBM Research and Development teamed up with the University of Ontario Institute of Technology to develop monitoring software closely to the premature babies. Obviously, for those who have been through that or are aware of that, it's very critical. There's a lot of information that has to go in or is being captured separately on a precious life of a baby. It's not just about temperature and if there's the breathing, etc. Have they got enough food intake? It's all about the drugs that have been administered. It's all about what they expect us to, if they administer these type of drugs or etc. How is it going to affect the infant as it grows? They're expecting to see what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. A lot of information on the monitoring, visual, unstructured sort of content. That was then utilised. It's been utilised around the globe, and it's part of the Smarter Healthcare sort of facility, where it brings all the doctors, the nurses, the administration. Everyone has the same. Sees the same picture of that of the infant. And it's been able to help them sort of predict change, analyse and react quickly. Okay? They don't want to go through and have a look at this information past or have a looking at different charts and trying to make the assumptions or talk to people. They want to be able to look at the same picture and analyse that. So IBM Research went into a lot of effort, understood the situation, had to look at different ways of massaging or manipulating that sort of data. And thus born was the sort of Stream Analytics, Data in Motion. Okay, sorry. And its ability to look at volumes. I mean, as David was mentioning about before, was it the exabyte to the terabyte and beyond of information per the second. It's looking at not only the visual, the monitoring of the imagery, the CCTV, it's also looking at the other information all at the same time to show that analysis on the fly as it comes through. Now that technology is now being used in traffic around the globe, looking at how the networks are happening through there. So the volume of information, the same technology is now helping to predict or utilise within the traffic flow within major cities around the globe. And it's also used in the public safety, the law enforcement, which we'll cover in shortly.